For our third installment of the Enlisted Character Development Series, we are showcasing Bronze Star and Purple Heart recipient MSgt Del Toro, who will be speaking on the topic of resilience.
You know, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and then when I was 12 years old, lost my dad, and then a year later lost my mom, you know, to a drunk driver. So by the age of 14, I had to pretty much raise my brothers and sisters and not let the loss of my parents kind of bring me down, because what's the odds of a kid from the south side grow up without no parents and not be a gangbanger, not be a drug dealer, you know, not get into trouble. But there was a promise that I told my dad I always take care of my family, so I did that. And I did that for a couple of years until I joined the military. And then during basic training, that's when I got to meet the TACP recruiter, and he was telling me what the job was. And I wanted to push myself. So I was like, all right, TACP is one of the most challenging jobs in the Air Force. Because, the day I got hurt, an IED exploded under my truck, and I always heard stories of people saying, man, your life flashed in front of you, and I never believed that until I got hit. And it wasn't like really flat, my life flashed in front of me, like from Back to the Past. It was more of the future for me. Me and my wife were finally going to get married, by the church. We tried 3 different times, but every time we tried to, something happened, deployments. And, I really thought about my son. I was like, I'm supposed to teach him how to play ball. I played ball all my life, baseball. And then something clicked, so you got to get out of the truck. Got out of the truck. And when I got out of the truck, I was on fire from head to toe. And that was December 4th, 2005. I wake up March of 2006. I was in coma for 4 months, and it's weird not knowing what happened in your life for 4 months, just completely blank. So this is the part where now my wife gets tested with her resiliency, because she gets a phone call, actually on her birthday. It was December 5th. A great birthday present I gave my wife. She just happened to be at church, and her sister was at home, and so her sister went back and told her, hey, one of DT's friends want to talk to you. I woke up in March, and I sort of remember her being there, and the docs telling me what had happened. They're asking me, do you know where you're at? I'm like, oh, Afghanistan. They're like, no. Do you know the date? It's like December something. It's like, no, it's March. And they're looking at me and then telling me, 80% of your body is 30-degree burns. I'm going to say, why can't I move? Why can't I talk? What's going on? And they say, you almost died 3 times on us, and then give me my diagnosis. You're still going to be in the hospital for another year and a half. You're really on a respirator for the rest of your life. You may not walk again. And your military career is pretty much over. And they're all waiting to see what I'm going to say. And I look at them, I was like, pretty much, you can go to hell. Of course, they read my lips because I had a trach. And from that day, I just kept pushing. I was like, I'm not going to let this beat me. I was like, I have a son. I got to show him that, yeah, Dad got jacked up, but Dad's not quitting. Dad's not going to let this ruin his life. And never throughout my entire ordeal, when I was in recovery, did I wish I died. Except for, I call this my darkest hour. When you're severely burned, they cover the mirrors. They want to ease you into your transition to what you look like now. And I was going to the restroom. I was having help. I had my wife and my therapist. We're walking, and I slip, and I don't know who grabbed it, but my wife from Gary, and they pull the tower off the mirror, and I see myself, and I break down. And I tell them, you guys should have let me die. And it wasn't a vanity thing for me. It was more that if a 30-something man sees himself and thinks he's a monster, what's a 3-year-old kid going to think? Because no father wants his son to be afraid of him, and I didn't want my son to be afraid of me. He was my everything. He was my motivation. He was my spark. And to have the fear that he may run away from me when he sees me crushed me. And I was just sitting there saying I should have died, crying. And Gary, like I said, I call him my guardian angel. And he's like, DT, trust me, your son, all he wants is his dad. But the day I saw him, after I got out of the hospital, I walked in, and of course I was all bandaged up. I looked like a freaking mummy. I walk in, and I remember some of my teammates being there, and my wife, some of my relatives, and her saying, Papi's home, and he comes running out, and I remember everyone just around me, and he stops, and I'm like, holy crap, he's afraid of me. He doesn't want to come by me. All these bad thoughts of that dark hour of mine was rushing back. He's going to be scared. And he tilts his head like this. I was like, Papi? He was like, yeah, buddy. And he just runs up, gives me a hug. And best hug, the most amazing hug I've ever had in my life, All he wanted was his dad. All he wanted was the dad. And you do it, not for you, but for the guys behind you, because you want to make things better for the guys that follow you. And that's your job as an NCO or as a leader. You don't quit. You keep pushing no matter what obstacle is in front of you. You don't let it beat you.